My name is Heather. I work alongside Kartik, the co-founder of TeamSlide. And today we're going to talk about what's new at TeamSlide in quarter 1. So these are the topics we'll discuss today. Some web portal updates, the reworking of CMS connections and libraries, along with also a property update in the web portal as well. Some updates to board settings, and also something to look forward to in the future in regards to file boards.
So one of the things we've been doing is to clean up the way connections to your CMS, like SharePoint and Box, are established, making it more simple, more manageable, and such that you'll be able to connect more resources more quickly. And that's happening in two stages. The first is the CMS connections now are quite simple. You can put in a SharePoint URL or a Box URL, and it'll clean up the URL if needed and generate a token to make that connection. For the most part, we do need a little IT support to make that connection. Typically, an average TeamSlide admin doesn't have sufficient access rights to do it in SharePoint, but with a little bit of IT support, usually about 3 to 4 minutes, we can get that started quite quickly. And then as part of that, we've also improved the way your connections at a library level occur. And maybe the best way to show is actually, I'll share my screen and we'll look at that in more detail. I've got the back end of TeamSlide open. This is the web portal that you can access at www.teamslide.io. And the CMS connections I was just talking about is here in the middle of the menu. And you can create a new connection, connect to SharePoint or Box or any of the other systems you might use. And again, we use a token method like I was discussing earlier to make that connection. But once you have that established, you use the libraries and folders to connect more folders from your CMS and pull that content into TeamSlide. You can add a library, call it test in here, and then you can connect that library to the CMS. And previously you had to type in the paths, but now you can actually just browse through your folder structure to find what you want. And so you can get in here quite quickly and connect your folders from your CMS and tie them to a library in TeamSlide, where previously you had to type in the path. Now you can browse through and find what you want. After you select a folder, you can decide what type of content to pull in: PowerPoint files, image files, video files. You can even set permissions in here. Who gets to see it, who doesn't see it, and then you can create that library, and that connection is established automatically. And TeamSlide will then schedule the connection and start indexing your content and pulling it into TeamSlide and making it available for users to find. Script criteria. So as you connect your content systems, your repositories might be quite complex. You may have a lot of different subfolders, a lot of different content, and you may not want all of that to be pulled into TeamSlide. For example, you might have an archive folder where you archive all documents, and you may not want the average user to find that in there. So rather than having to rearrange your content system for TeamSlide's quite good at knifing in and getting exactly the content you want to give us and not anything more. And one way to achieve that is through the skip criteria. And again, I'll share my screen. We'll talk about that in more detail. So in the properties section, these are where you can define properties, and you'll have a number of standard properties in here as well, like file name, path, folder, and any custom ones as well. But for each of these properties, if you go in and hit edit and you open up the advanced settings, you'll see down here the ability to insert a skip criteria. So in this case, I'm saying skip any files whose path have the word test somewhere in it, or archive, or whatever it might be in your situation. You can put in this case, part of a path structure or a folder name, or you can impact your file names and say skip files that have a certain word in them, for example. So here I'm skipping any files that have a path with the word test in it. Just to show you how that works, walk into my SharePoint. Under Documents, New, and Knowledge, you'll see I have a bunch of folders, including a test folder in here. And because I put test into that skip criteria, it will not be pulled into TeamSlide. So if I go into TeamSlide, I open up my file board, my knowledge board, you'll see that test is missing from there. So just a really easy way for you to skip files so that not everything is important into TeamSlide. We're happy to help you implement this. Like I said, it doesn't have to be just for folders, but you can apply it to any property you have in your content system. So for example, if you're using SharePoint and you've marked certain files as internal versus external, you can say skip all the external ones and it'll do that for you. Next up is a few changes in boards. boards are often set up with a Google-like interface where it's a search bar. Sometimes you might have tags in here, but a common request has been, especially for boards that have no tags, that have no structure, and it's just a pure search tool, is to list all your slides immediately so you don't have to search. Prior to today, you'd have to search for like an asterisk, for example, to see all your content. So if you have a board with only 49 results, you may not want to have to search. Maybe perhaps users are just happy to flick through the slides and find what they want. And so in our board settings now, if you go up to boards in the back end, I'll go to my sales board. You can now click on this. It says show all slides on opening and hit update board. So now when I flip back to PowerPoint, if I just restart TeamSlide, you'll see under sales, the slides listed immediately on here. Now, the trade-off is if you have tags that were shown on the main page, they'll be hidden and you have to click here to access them. So you won't see those tags right away on the main page. But if you have just a few tags, or if you don't have any tags at all, for example, if you have a tab that just has icons or just a few sales assets, you can turn this on and people can see their content right away. And of course, they continue to search on top of this and narrow in on what they want. They don't have to just browse through the slides. And I'll just end the board's discussion just by saying that a really common board has been a getting started board. I don't have it here, but essentially you can set up a file board, call it getting started or start here, and you can keep some of your core files that people use all the time. So maybe your template or maybe your standard pitch response or your pitch or your RFP responses templates in here so people can quickly find those core assets and get started with them. You can come in and say open file or see slides and find what you want. So again, using it as a getting started board has been very popular. And if anyone would like help setting that up, you can reach out and we'd be happy to help you do that. And I think that's all for updates, but there is one coming up actually as early as next week, which is the ability to search on the file board. So today the file board is used for browsing. You can sort of browse through folders, but starting next week, you'll be able to search in file boards as well and find slides within the subfolder that you've navigated to. So for example, in here, if you clicked on automotive and then ran a search, it would search through all your slides in automotive and not across all case studies in this case. Again, just another way for you to quickly find the content that you're looking for. So I hope people found that helpful. We're always listening to feedback to develop new features. You may have already received emails, but we have a team member, Ian, who helps runs customer success. He's often reaching out and offering training sessions and opportunities to optimize your TeamSlide configuration. We're always happy to jump on a quick call, help you optimize things, train your end users, and just ensure you're maximizing the value we can provide through TeamSlide. And of course, listening to feedback.
Thank you guys for joining, and we will send out the recording for this, so be on the lookout. So yeah, and if anyone has any recommendations for future workshops, please let us know. We're happy to do whatever would help you guys out the most.